As news of police shooting-inspired riots in Milwaukee was breaking this weekend, every detail I saw was worse than the last. Burning businesses.
The BP gas station at Sherman and Burleigh then set on fire. At least 3 other fires were set blocks away. As we have mentioned, the O'Reilly Auto Parts store, Jet Beauty Salon, and the BMO Harris Bank branch all destroyed by fire. Police say firefighters couldn't get to the fires right away because there were reports of gunshots.
Destroying cars.
Car fire on the road. It looks like the gas tank just popped.
Assaulting police officers.
An officer was injured, sent to the hospital when his windshield was broken by a brick.
As I was watching, I was thinking, okay, this is it. This is finally at the point of complete indefensibility. This is finally at the point where media figures and politicians alike will have to call this out for what it is. Unjustifiable, obviously criminal, borderline terroristic activity. It's not protest, it's not advocacy, it's not activism. This is violence and intimidation in pursuit of a political aim. Definitional terrorism. So how would national media coverage, which up until this point has largely refused honesty on such protests, handle this situation? I figured what's happening in Milwaukee is so clear-cut wrong, as we'll see in a few minutes, they would only have 2 choices. They could ignore it entirely, as NBC chose to do with its morning news coverage, covering instead the latest round of mean words that Trump said.
Now to politics and major developments in the presidential race this morning. The conservative op-ed page of the Wall Street Journal is calling on the Republican Party to essentially abandon Donald Trump if he doesn't change his ways on the campaign trail.
As well as some chaos at JFK Airport where someone said they heard gunshots, but it turned out to be clapping and the whole airport was evacuated.
Frightening moments last night for passengers and workers at New York's JFK Airport after reports that shots had been fired. Police evacuated Terminal 8 about 9:30 last night. Well, this all started when a woman coming off a plane said she thought she had heard gunfire. It turns out cheering, clapping, and loud celebrations from people watching, yes, the Olympics, may have been misinterpreted as a fight and gunshots.
In the choice between covering actual violence and terrorism and false alarm violence and terrorism, NBC editors prioritized false alarm. But I get it, it's a tough choice because if you cover Milwaukee, you're going to have to be honest that there's a serious problem with racially motivated criminals who are looking for any excuse to harm others and destroy their own communities and get away with it. Surely, when a black criminal in a black community points a gun at a black cop, allegedly, and his life unfortunately lost as a result, and his community vandalized and burned in response, you can't blame that on racist cops. Or at least you can't do that and maintain consistency with the truth, because even though this ideology is rigid, it crumbles in truth's exposure. Take a look at how CBS covered the Milwaukee riots on Monday morning.
City Alderman Russell Stamper told me a familiarity between the police and those who live here could be fruitful.
When we were growing up, they were passing out baseball cards, and you got to talk to the police and got to know who they were. We need to bring that effort back.
Yes, bring back the baseball cards. That's the issue here. You know, these weren't even riots per se. Someone just got word there was a Babe Ruth rookie card spotted in the neighborhood, sparking a frenzy of enthusiastic search for it. Look under every rock and flip every car. And after you've searched every home and business, burn them.
We watch person after person after person gunned down. No gun, no indictments, no people sent to jail from the police force. At some point, the community wants to know why.
Well, if you'd like to know why, how about waiting for those facts that explain why before rioting? No gun. How about yes gun? How about stolen gun, in fact? How about stolen gun allegedly pointed at a police officer? How about lengthy criminal record? How about body cam footage reviewed by police and government officials and likely soon to be publicly released, confirming all of these facts? And even if it doesn't, can we at least wait for the proof before destroying communities. And astoundingly, CBS isn't even the worst offender. Take a look at the end of this CNN piece.
Smith's family and friends holding a vigil marked by prayers.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done.
With his sister calling for peace.
Don't bring the violence here and the ignorance here.
A call for peace. Well, that's an interesting characterization considering the parts of the quote they chose to edit out.
Don't burn down shit we need in our community. Take that shit to the suburbs. Burn that shit down.
So yeah, a call for peace for her neighborhood. But for other people's, burning. That's a key omission. And these are the choices I've seen in national news on the issue to date. Either they are not covering the issue at all, or they are doing an intentionally dishonest job with their coverage. So let's try to do their job for them. After all, we've got Google, we've got social media. We're pretty much already caught up with them anyway. I see three crucial themes in these riots major media sources aren't emphasizing. First, these rioters have very questionable messages, self-characterized as anti-American. Second, these rioters are targeting innocent white victims for violence on the basis of race. And third, these rioters are harming reporters on scene to cover the issue. Let's go piece by piece. Many of the messages emerging from these riots are questionable, to be generous. Is it really about the guy who was shot, or is he merely an excuse to provide a platform for several outrageous claims?
It's sad because, this is what happened because they're not helping the black community. Like, the rich people, they got all this money and they're not like, trying to give us none.
Give us your money or we get violent. But hey, even if you do, we hate this country anyway. And even if we can strike a deal, we'll probably have to separate the races too.
Eye for eye, no more peace. That's all that. Ain't no more peace. Ain't no more peace.
And that racially charged rhetoric is only the beginning. Horrifying footage from Saturday night shows the racial targeting of white passersby for vandalism and violence.
Hey, they beating up every white person. They jumping every white person. Man, that white person come down Sherman. He white. Beat his shit, bitch. Take him out his car.
Now see, this ain't in the play, but I think they just beat some white bitch ass for no reason. They bust her window and everything.
Reporters themselves have been targeted for violence as well.
Our news crews have been out there. They came back bloodied and bruised. People attacked them. They were robbed down to their shoes.
I am going to be leaving. I will no longer cover what is happening here. Things started to get really tense later in the night when people started screaming, "Fuck white people." A reporter that was grabbed by some locals and threatened and told to leave. Another instance, a reporter was smacked upside the head by a local who then tried to rally people to come and attack us. And things got to the point where I started to question whether or not I should be here when I saw an 18-year-old white kid holding his neck and the police run in and extract him. This is the person we believe to be the shooting victim from last night. For those that are perceivably white, it is just not safe to be here.
So far, I see none of these key elements to the story: the anti-American messaging, the racial targeting of innocent victims, the hostility to reporters, getting national coverage. And to me, it raises the key question: at what point will the media and political leadership get the courage to demand accountability from these groups? If we let them get away with racial hate, if we let them get away with targeting innocents, we embrace lawlessness, we embrace racism, we embrace every perceived injustice that forms the reason we coddle them in the first place. I honestly don't know of a crazier, self-defeating paradox. And I understand it's probably not easy to live in Milwaukee's black communities, the city most segregated by race and poverty in the United States. I understand that to be a social contributor, an opportunity to do so goes a long way. But our social contract is an agreement between two parties, meaning that maybe society can do a better job of creating good opportunity in these communities. But these communities can surely and must also do a better job of cultivating a culture that makes good on the opportunity before them as well. That means introspection. That means considering one's own faults. That means taking those fingers that are perpetually pointed at everybody else and pointing them back at yourself once in a while to consider what you can do to become the best version of yourself possible. So far, I've only seen one moment of introspection from the Milwaukee riots, a tragic one from the father of the man killed.
And they looking at their dad like he's doing all these things. I just got out of jail probably 2 months ago, but I've been going back and forth in jail, and they see these things, so I'm like to apologize to my kids because this is the role model they look up to.
Even though the facts suggest this man and his son may not be great people, I can understand him, even sympathize with him, because he's introspective. He's self-aware. He acknowledges the role he has played in his own fate, even though doing so hurts him. And because he does that, I can imagine a situation in which we are able to work together to build a better society. If Black Lives Matter and related groups refuse to be introspective, it is the job of the media and politicians to twist their arms to make that happen. This is my plea to start twisting. A twisted arm can be uncomfortable, but it's a lot more comfortable than a bullet wound. And the latter is the status quo. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel. Always appreciate that thoughtful discussion down below, and especially over on Twitter. That is at @skag_3. You're always welcome to come hang out and chat in my live streams. Those are linked down in the description. Looking forward to it.